Hello, and thank you for joining us here at the London Stock Exchange as part of Burgess Salmon's introductory series on the private intermittent securities and capital exchange system, better known as Pisces. My name is AJ Fenter, and I'm delighted to be joined by Marcus Stuttard, the head of AIM and UK primary markets at the LSE. Marcus, thank you very much for your time and also for hosting us. Shall we dive straight in with the first question? Pisces hopes to strengthen London's reputation as a truly innovative and competitive financial global centre. What is the gap that Pisces is looking to fill?
So first of all, what we're trying to do is create a seamless funding continuum so that companies can go from seed capital right the way through to becoming consequential global businesses. And so what we need to do is make sure that the early stages of the financing or funding continuum are joined up all the way through to the public markets. Clearly, a lot of people focus on how do we get capital into businesses, but one of the things that we're very passionate about is also making sure that investors, management teams, employees in these businesses also have access to liquidity so they can sell shares.
And how does Pisces fit in with the current public markets?
So, it's clearly differentiated from the public markets. It is a secondary liquidity venue rather than a primary capital raising venue. But what it will enable companies to do is continue to scale in the UK. So we often find that businesses get sold too early before the stage that they might be ready for the public markets. And so what we're trying to do here is take the pressure off these businesses to be sold too early by providing their investors, their management teams, their employees with access to that liquidity.
And how does Pisces differ from the existing liquidity options that private companies may have available to them?
Actually, there are probably three main things. The first is it is being backed by a fundamental sort of set of changes to the regulatory system. So it's got a bespoke regulatory framework supporting it. The second is that the company is at the centre of the, certainly in our venue, it'll be right at the centre. So the company will have control over how frequently its shares are being traded, where the disclosure is distributed to, which investors can participate. And then the third thing is it will have the backing and the infrastructure of the London Stock Exchange. So that whole robust, resilient, very broad and diverse public markets infrastructure, essentially.
And what would you say are the key challenges and opportunities for Pisces?
So, it's easy to sort of forget now that we're so advanced with Pisces, and we should just sort of remember that Pisces is the name of the regulatory framework. We will be launching our own Pisces venue that will be called the private securities market. So a bit easier to sort of get your tongue around. But we've made huge progress. The government, the Treasury, the FCA have done an incredible amount of work to get us to where we are. And this very much is a sort of private markets up type of framework. So rather than just looking at the public markets and taking a few rules out, the government, the policymakers have really started with a blank sheet of paper and said, right, how do we design a bespoke framework for these Pisces venues? So actually, I think a lot of the challenges in a way have been overcome. Through that process, there have been all sorts of things that have emerged, EMI schemes, tax, disclosure, and actually steadily, the government and the FCA and stakeholders like the London Stock Exchange, we've worked through those challenges. In terms of the opportunity, what has become clear since we sort of started the discussions around Pisces actually is the very broad range of use cases, from relatively small sort of angel and VC-backed businesses to some very late-stage large businesses that have already been through a number of funding rounds, have quite often got quite widely distributed shareholder registers, and also quite often lots of employees that want access to liquidity. So there's a really broad range of companies that want to use this framework. and also investors. So whether they're existing investors that want access to liquidity, or they're big institutions, family offices that want to be able to invest directly into private companies. So, as we've been developing this framework with the government, the number of stakeholders and use cases has really grown significantly.
And are you able to confirm whether the LSE is in advanced discussions with candidate Pisces participants who want to go live when your venue launches?
Yeah, we absolutely are. The whole sort of engagement process with stakeholders to help design the framework has involved very extensive conversations with companies, with investors, and with all of the other sort of market intermediaries. So we've been having those conversations for some time, and there's actually a really exciting sort of set of generally larger companies that we expect to be sort of first movers.
Marcus, thank you very much for joining me for some Q&A on Pisces. As Pisces looks to gather more momentum over the coming weeks and months, please feel free to get in touch with us to discuss how we could help. And for more information, please visit our dedicated Pisces Hub on our website.